Section 6. Putting the cyber into the punk. Forget everything you ever thought about cyborgs. Everything. This is the 2000s. Today's cyborg is stylish. His cybernetics are designed for a streamlined, high-mover lifestyle. Whether equipped with implanted data chips in his nervous system to enhance his tennis game, or bioengineered mini-weapons for his personal protection, the cyborg of the 2000s is the cutting edge of high-tech living. But he isn't necessarily a walking tank either. Cybertech can be smoother than that, less obvious. You have to integrate your new tech gadgets into a slick, seamless whole. You're either predator or prey, and the faster you learn to blur the line between the two categories, the longer you'll survive. And that's the point, survival. Cyber fashion. It's hip and aware to have high-tech grafted onto your body somewhere. If you can afford it, you probably have at least a couple of enhancements, a few software chips installed into your nervous system to interface with your computer. Remember your appointments, the ever-popular Daytimer trademark chip, for example, and improve your racquetball reflexes. If you're cybered up, you probably have interface plugs to operate computers and vehicles mentally. Maybe your eyes are cyber optics, with a recording function and the latest iris tint. Polychrome is in this year. Or your hearing is boosted to better hear the gossip in the executive lounge. If your job involves some type of security or combat function, and most corporations of the 2000s have at least some type of combat aspect, you probably have 2 or 3 types of combat software, as well as plugs and interfaces for a smart gun. As a solo, you may have had 1 or more limbs replaced with cyberware prosthetics, allowing you to hide a variety of tools and weapons in your body, as well as giving you an edge in speed and strength. As a cyberpunk, you're going to want to get your hands on the best of the exciting and expensive new tech. And expensive is the world. The average enhanced character with, say, 1 cyber optic, targeting scope and IR enhancement, a reflex boost, 1 super chromed arm with a 25 cal submachine gun, interface plugs and chipware for martial arts, rotor wing pilot, and handgun is an investment of tens of thousands of euros. Of course, the ambitious punk already knows at least 25 ways, most of them illegal, to raise that sort of partly sum. But before you start loading up, there's a catch. Cyber psychosis. The cyber psycho must constantly fight to keep from going over the edge and committing irrational, violent acts of murder and mayhem. Most of the time, he loses. Then, everybody loses. Something happens when you start adding metal and plastic to people. They start to change, and it isn't pretty. In the 2000s, we call this cyber psychosis, a mental disease in which the addition of cybernetics causes an already unstable personality to fragment. At first, the victim begins to relate more to machines than to humans. Soon, he starts to ignore people, parents, friends, lovers. Eating, sleeping, all become less important. Finally, human interactions begin to irritate, culminating in a terrifying rage that consumes the victim entirely. So, how do I get cyber psychosis? Every character in Cyberpunk has an empathy stat, EMP for short. This stat is a measure of how well the character relates to other people, and is the basis of such skills as leadership, lying, convincing, and romantic relationships. Likewise, every major cybernetic enhancement has a corresponding humanity cost, which is added together to get an overall humanity cost of all enhancements. Humanity costs are rated from very low to very high, and correspond to the general effect this enhancement will have on the human psyche. In addition, each option added to the enhancement has an additional point of value as well. For every 10 points of humanity cost, the character loses 1 point of empathy. Unequal values are rounded down. For example, say I add 4 new cybernetic devices for a total humanity cost of 36. I will lose 3 points of empathy. This can start to cost you. With an empathy of 3, the character is something of a cold fish, emotionless and cold. With an empathy of 2, the character is chilly, foreboding, and distinctly unpleasant to others. With an empathy of 1, the character is usually violent, psychopathic, and vicious. He must constantly fight to keep from going over the edge and committing irrational, violent acts of murder and mayhem. At an empathy rating of 0 or less, the character is fully in the grip of cyber psychosis. He is driven by a maddening hatred of other humans and living things. At this point, there is no turning back. The character is taken over by the referee, who plays it as a non-player character with all the worst attributes of a murderous, mechanized psychopath, called a cyber psycho. Not all cyber psychos are the rampaging type. Many exhibit more subtle symptoms: compulsive lying, kleptomania, sadism, brutality, split personality, and extreme violent mood swings. They're so, weak and flimsy, you know? You just reach out and touch them, and they die. Unknown cyber psycho. The guy weighed in at about 550, once you count in the metal. When we took him down in the maglev station, he'd already killed 15 people. He said he couldn't stand all those flimsy sacks of blood and water hemming him in. Sergeant Max Hammerman, NCPD. What's a nice little girl like you working C-SWAT? Hunting down fracks like you wireheads in Vice, sweetie. Typical conversation, Night City Precinct. The Psycho Squad. Cyberpsychosis is a big problem in the 2000s. While state-sponsored therapy is an option, the hardest part is getting the patient into the psychologist's office. What do you do when a metal-armored, cyber-boosted maniac starts randomly killing people? If you're the government, you organize a special squad of professional police with one job: to hunt down and capture or kill murderous cyber-psychos. Cyber squads are common to most urban police departments, going under names like C-SWAT, Cybernetic Special Weapons and Tactical Squad, Psych Div, Cyber Enforcement, and MaxTac, Maximum Force Tactical Division. They are armed with the best in armor, commo equipment, and vehicles. Most carry weapons that start at the light cannon range and up. They are, by nature, not very nice people. Registered Cybers. Although the Uniform Criminal Justice Code of the United States says that you must actually commit a crime before you can be arrested, this doesn't stop most police departments from practicing selective crime prevention, especially those departments run by corporations. The Psycho Squad keeps tabs on who buys what and where through informants, monitors, and hidden tech detectors scattered all over the city. They usually have a good idea what gangs are loading up on Megaware, and who's most likely to cross the line into psychohood in the near future. When a potential perp looks like he's getting too close, the squad picks him up off the street and offers him a choice. He can go on like he is and risk having an accident happen some dark night. We're just worried that some public-spirited citizen might, take it upon himself to, adjust your attitude. Or you can get registered. Registration is sort of like parole. You agree to see a cyberpsychologist for monitoring and analysis, regaining 2 points of humanity costs per week until your original EMP is restored, and the squad implants a small transmitter into your cyberware, allowing them to know your general whereabouts, just in case. The police don't hassle you, and the squad doesn't automatically gun you down with 20mm cannon rounds if you boost a pack of Smash from the corner Venmat. It's rumored that some departments also implant a small explosive charge and a radio detonator, but we all know that's against the criminal code, don't we? Besides, you don't have to register, but we thought you'd like to know. After all, there are those public-spirited citizens out there. Humanity costs. So, how does this all apply to me? Simple. Each time you add on a cybernetic enhancement, there corresponds a loss of humanity. But it's not simple, linear, or nice. Different people react differently to the cyborging process. Therefore, your humanity cost is based on the throw of a random dice value for each enhancement. This is important because it means that sheer bad luck could put you over the line before you even know it. Very low is a 1d6 divided by 2, low's a 1d6, medium's a 2d6, high is a 3d6, and very high is a 4d6. Remember, you must keep track of the cumulative number of points lost. Those little 0.5s and 1s are going to start adding up fast. Therapy. There's one way to hang out over the edge and still keep it wired, and that's therapy. The C-SWAT drags you in, screaming and tearing at the walls, and straps you down to a heavy metal psychiatrist's couch. Probes deactivate your cyber systems one by one, while the shrink jacks the rabid psyche into a brain dance. Then begins the long, arduous process of disassembling your brain and reconstructing it into a more socially acceptable form. One that doesn't get its kicks out of eating dead bodies, for example. Cyberpsychologists, or psycho-shrinks, use combinations of brain dance simulation, drugs, hypnotics, psychosurgery, and aversion therapy to reconstruct damaged personalities. Once all cybernetics are removed or deactivated, the character will recover 2 points of empathy for every week of therapy attended. For example, Savage is dragged into Dr. Risk's office with a humanity cost total of -3. It will take at least 5 weeks of therapy before Savage will be back to his original empathy of 6. Now that you know, walk carefully, guard your mind. Cyber technology. Cyber technology can be purchased almost anywhere. Some of the medical procedures are simple, walk-in types of surgery, with minor installations taking place in shopping mall clinics. Body Shop, Fashion Fusion, and Parts and Programs are 3 popular chain stores, or drop-in medical centers, Docs R Us trademark. These installations are much like getting your ears pierced circa 1980. You can even have upgrades and improvements plugged into the old hardware for the cost of the new parts, allowing you to start small, called stripped or economy, and add as you go. What can't be bought openly are the types of cyberware known as black market cybertech. These items can only be purchased through criminal contacts on the street and installed by high-priced underground medtechs known as Ripper Docs. Black market cybertech is often dangerous, badly installed, and always expensive. But hey, we're all big kids here, and besides, you know what to do to a Ripper Doc who messes around with you, right? Surgery codes. Each type of cyberware has a surgery code. This code represents the minimum level of medical care required to install the cyberware, the length of the surgical time required, the cost of the surgery, the damage taken in surgery, and the difficulty of the installation procedure. Negligible, required mall clinic or other drop-in body shop, surgical time of 1 hour, surgical damage of 1 point, surgical costs included with installations. The difficulty is equal to easy at 10. This isn't gonna hurt a bit. Well, maybe a little. Quit screaming, will ya? How am I supposed to get this thing stuck on ya if you keep twitching like that? Scenes from Savage Docs. Cyberware list. Note, the 2-letter code following the enhancement is used to identify the enhancement on a character sheet. For example, Cyber Optic IETAMEMV would mean a cyber optic with an image enhancement, targeting scope, micro optics, and micro video recording. The category listed for cyberware goes as follows: fashionware, neuralware, processor, implants, bioware, cyber weapons, cyber optics, cyber audio, cyber arm, cyber leg, hands and feet, built-ins, cyber weapons, linear frames, and body plating. Love your eyes. Where'd you buy them? Parts and Programs on the lower level. They're Kuroshi's, of course. Conversation in the New Harbor Mallplex. Minor, required medical center or Ripper Doc clinic. Surgical time is 2 hours. Surgical damage is 1d6 plus 1. Surgical cost, 500 eddies. Difficulty is simple, 15. Major, required full hospital with surgery center. Surgical time is 4 hours. Surgical damage is 2d6 plus 1. Surgical costs, 1500 eddies. Difficulty, trained, at 20. Critical, required full hospital with surgery center. Surgical time is 6 hours. Surgical damage is 3d6 plus 1. Surgical cost is 2500 eddies. Difficulty, 25. For more on healing times and surgery and other information, see the Trauma Team section on page 118. Fashion wear. While a cyborg is usually defined as anyone who has mechanical technology grafted onto his body, the line is actually pretty nebulous. Is your girlfriend a cyborg because she wears contact lenses? Is your grandmother a cyborg because she has a hearing aid and an artificial hip joint? In this hazy zone of cybertech is fashion wear, little high-tech gadgets common to the cyberpunk future. Biomonitor. This is a favorite of solos, gadget freaks, and harried corporates worried about their blood pressure. Mounted just below the skin of the forearm, the biomonitor gives a constant readout of pulse, respiration, brain waves, blood sugar, temperature, and cholesterol levels. The display is a pattern of word-shaped LEDs, each running a color sequence from red, critical, to green, excellent. As conditions change, the colors change. The user merely shoots back his cuff, looks at the little glowing word display he wants, and checks the color. In game terms, this adds a +2 to any resist torture or drugs check. Skin Watch. The predecessor of the biomonitor, the Skin Watch is implanted just below the epidermis and uses tiny LEDs to project glowing numerals through the skin. Skin watches can be mounted anywhere, although the hand, wrists, and fingers are most common. Advanced versions can be reset by pressing the display gently until the right number combinations come up. Really advanced versions have alarms that beep quietly. Use your imagination. Light tattoos. These are light-emitting chemical patches inserted under the first couple layers of skin. They store light and emit it in colors or patterns. Shift tacks. These are colored contact lenses designed to mimic certain aspects of more expensive cyber optics. Mirrored contacts in all tints, temperature or emotion-sensitive contacts that change color on demand, logo or patterned contacts. These are available in most fashionable bodywear shops. Check it out. Chem skins. These are special dyes and chemicals which are impregnated or rubbed into the skin. Some change the skin color to a new shade as desired. Others are temperature sensitive and shift colors in vibrant patterns when warmed or cooled. Very expensive chem skins are sensitive to hormonal changes. You could buy a chem skin that would make yellow and black tiger stripes appear on your skin when you became angry or excited. Synth skins, a more sophisticated version of light tattoo technology. A synth skin is a layer of color-shifting plastic bonded to the character's outer skin. A synth skin can be adjusted to display colors, patterns, light flares, or other special effects using tuning chips costing 100 eddies each, which are plugged into a socket in the skin, usually under the hairline. Tech hair. The shafts of this artificial hair are impregnated with various types of reactive chemicals. Some types are temperature sensitive and change color or stand up depending on the weather. Others contain the same pigments used in light tattoos, storing and emitting colored lights in patterns. Still, others can change color as desired by using special chemical shampoos. Tech hair can be implanted in mohawks, hair weaves, full hair pieces, manes, ruffs, whiskers, and other less obvious but interesting places. Neurowear. One of the most important aspects of cybertech is invisible to the naked eye. This type of enhancement, known as neurowear, is usually in the form of tiny co-processing chips and nerve amplifiers that increase existing abilities. The basic neural processor is a switch box implanted into the lower spine and is used to route signals from external cyberware to the central nervous system. It is the main system for any type of neural interface, including reflex boosters, interface plugs, weapon, data term, and vehicle links, mini-computers, and sensory augmentations. The NeuroWare processor has a small inspection space which allows secondary co-processors to be inserted into the basic processor module. This makes upgrading a process of opening the inspection space in a sterile environment and inserting the new co-processors. Implanting a neural processor is far easier than one would expect thanks to the science of nanotech. The basic module is surgically affixed to the spine, where it releases a flood of nanosurgical units into the spinal column. These microscopic machines thread tiny linkages through the central nervous system, hooking nerve endings to the neural processor. This process takes some time, 1d6 plus 7 days, before the nanosurgeons have worked their way through the entire body and all the connections are hooked up to the neural processor. Co-processors. These are specialized add-ons which can be plugged into the main neural processor at any time. The whole process takes about an hour and can be performed in any walk-in clinic. Some, like reflex boosters, allow you to improve your reactions and perceptive abilities to inhuman levels. Others, like link co-processors, allow you to interface with computers, databases, vehicles, and other machines. Once you have the basic neural processor, you can jack in as many options as you like. Reflex boosters. These are specialized TRC co-processors that amplify and speed up signal processing. The biggest advantage to a reflex boost is its ability to increase a character's initiative rolls in combat. There are two types of reflex co-processors, also known as boosterware. Note, this is the only type of boost which can be used with the Boost Master enhancement in Solo of Fortune. You may only select one type of boosterware, and you may not combine multiples of a single type of boost. Kerenzikov boosterware is always activated. The character is always reacting with a higher than normal reaction speed. Since Kerenzikov often boosts responses to greater than 10, it has a high humanity cost, as the user must learn to readjust his or her actions to a world that appears to be moving in slow motion. Because of this, Kerenzikov boosts can be installed at 2 levels of augmentation, +1 or +2 to initiative. HL is 1d6 or 2d6. Speedwear, also known as a Sandevistan, kicks in only when desired, eliminating much of the need to adapt one's entire life to an inhumanely fast reaction time. The character must first sub-vocalize a mental command word before boost is activated, then wait 1 turn before the boost kicks in. He will remain boosted for 5 full turns +3 to initiative rolls before the boost cuts out. He then must sub-vocalize the command again, and wait 2 turns before regaining a boosted state. Speedwear's biggest advantage are in lower humanity costs and improved performance. Because the body isn't on all the time, more can be drawn from it during the boost mode. Tactile boost. This increases any awareness roll involving touch by +2. The boost can be turned on or off at will, taking 1 turn to do so. Pain editor. This coprocessor overrides the pain receptors of the brain, making the subject impervious to torture, deprivation, or physical hardship. It doesn't mean he isn't getting hurt, just that he won't notice it until he collapses. Make endurance skill checks, but at 2 levels of difficulty lower than normal. Olfactory boost. This increases any awareness roll involving smell by +2. In addition, the subject adds +2 to his shadow track skills. He can track by smell, and has a 50% chance of locating a scent to begin tracking with unless the target has taken particular pains to disguise its scent. The boost can be turned on or off at will, taking one turn to do so. Links. Links are specialized coprocessors that allow you to translate signals from the device you want to run your neural code. There are 5 major types of links. You must have the proper link in order to run that type of device. Let me give you an idea of how fast boosterware is. There was a guy in the 102nd Cybercav back in Panama City. One night, we were all high on something, must have been lace, and some flathead fired off a round. This guy actually, believe it or not, caught the round in his hand. A 1 in a million chance, sure, but he did it. Of course, it blew his hand right off, but the way he figured it, he could always buy a new hand, and he'd be getting drinks off that story for the next 10 years. Morgan Blackhand. Cybermodem Link. This is the basic processor that translates net information into images. It replaces the more limited interface programs of the early teens, and allows the netrunner to perceive a wider variety of environments than its predecessors. Vehicle Link. This allows the user to control a vehicle through direct mental control. Cyber vehicles include cars, AV4s, aircraft, rotorcraft, or motorcycles, which have had their normal control systems replaced by a computer. The character plugs directly into the computer using interface plugs and cables, sending commands through his own nervous system. Power servos then steer wheels, depress accelerators, and control braking. Cyber vehicles are inhumanely responsive, like driving an extension of yourself. As a result, a cyber-assisted vehicle will automatically give you a +2 on any driving, piloting, or motorcycle driving skill you are using at the time. To modify a normal vehicle to cyber vehicle stats costs an additional 40% to the base vehicle cost. Smart Gun Link. Smart guns are modified versions of normal firearms, linked to an internal microcomputer, which in turn is jacked into a human operator. A smart gun uses a small sonic or laser projector to lock onto the target, scanning it thousands of times per second. As the gun traverses the desired target, the computer link picks up your mental fire signal or incoming data from the targeting reticule of your cyber optic and triggers the gun. Smart guns are far more accurate than most other guns. Using them automatically gives you a +2 to any firearms attack you are making. The cost of adapting a normal gun to a smart gun configuration is twice the normal cost of the gun. How a smart gun works. 1. Smart gun has laser sight mounted on top. Laser sight sends signal via plugs to link when target is in sights. 2. Link translates signal and sends it to the processor. 3. Processor detects fire reflex in your body, triggering the gun via link and plugs. 4. The gun fires. 5. If cyber optic is present, it sets up a crosshair sight on the target. When gun's laser sight matches target crosshairs, the gun fires. Machine Tech Link. This allows the user to interface with and control any auto factory or heavy machine operating from a M-Link based control system. You can also control small machines and appliances in a non-factory situation. Data Term Link. This coprocessor allows the user to directly access and store information from a data term, transferring it to a Times Square marquee or an LCD screen for a display. In game terms, this allows the character to access information as if a data term were available, even if there isn't. Interface plugs. These are the staple of cyberpunk culture, usually installed in the bones of the wrist, spine, or skull. They tap into major nerve trunks and interface with neural processors to send and receive signals. The plug itself can be used to insert information and reflex skill chips, or as a plug-in for a set of interface cables, allowing you to directly control any device you have the proper link with. In game terms, interface plugs allow the player to directly link to many types of machines, such as cyber modems or cyber vehicles. Interface plugs are quite common. Many companies will even pay for their installation. Quite a few factory and construction workers now stud directly into their machines. Interface plugs are critical to people like netrunners, who must have them to gain the speed and ability to run the net, and solos, who use them to operate smart guns. Most people wear their plugs on wrists for ease of use. Occasionally, a true cyber techie will mount them to the temples, a plug head, just behind the ears, called a Frankenstein, or in the back of the head, a puppet head. Some cover them with inlaid silver or gold caps, others with wrist warmers. Once again, a matter of style. Chipware. There are a wide variety of cybernetic devices available to the man on the move in the 2000s, but the basis for all these new techs is chipware, also known as wetware by some. Bioplastic circuitry that allows the human body to mesh with the power of silicon microprocessors. There are two types of chipware: reflex (APTR) chips and memoryware (MRAM) chips. Each piece of chipware operates exactly like the skill of the same name. To use chips requires two separate installations: a neural processor located at the base of the spine, which translates the chip data into useful information, and a set of interface plugs or chipware sockets. The chip itself is small, transparent silver, about an inch long, often color-coded for identification. It is inserted into the interface plug point down. It takes one turn to change chips. You may run as many separate chip programs at one time as your current intelligence stat. Example, my intelligence is 7. This means I can have up to 7 different program chips operating at one time. I could be chipped for karate, AV for piloting, pistol, assault weapons, AV for repair, play instrument, and specific knowledge, rock songs in the 1960s. However, I could not use any other chips until I'd remove one of these 7. Having chipware is like having instant skills whenever you want them. The problem is, chipware is expensive and limited to only the lowest levels of a specific skill, from +1 to a +3. To progress further, you would have to have a specifically designed chip built at a higher level. Not an easy proposition. A natural skill, on the other hand, progresses by use, and this increase in ability costs nothing except time. Another problem with chips is that unlike natural skills, you can't learn to become better. If you're chipped for karate of +2, you'll be at this level of skill until you die, no matter how many fights you get into. You also can't combine natural and chipware skills. For example, combining a chipped karate of +2 with a natural karate skill of +5 for a total of +7. The program responses of a chip will always override natural responses, setting the user's level of skill equal to that of the chip. Chips are best used when you need to know a lot of things all at once, but not very well. With chips, you can become a limited martial artist, pilot, driver, marksman. You can know a little bit more than you did before about a variety of subjects, but nowhere near as much as you would if you'd hit the books and studied. Reflex (APTR) chips. These are chips for reflex-based skills only, such as weapon firing or hand-to-hand combat knowledge. These augmented program TRC's feed loop record a specific neural signal from any one source, record it in memory, and then use the recording to activate a series of muscle reactions in another source. Theoretically, these chips should allow even the lowliest grunt to have the skill of a karate master, the shooting ability of Wyatt Earp, and the reflexes of an Olympic athlete. But the limits of programming restrict what you can learn from a chip to a relatively low level, about 1 to 3. In addition, a reflex chip must adapt to your specific neural and muscular patterns, adjusting its instructions to fit your body and vice versa. After all, the karate master who was the pattern for the chip might have been a 5'10" and you might be a 6'3". It learns your body movements by sampling your responses as you practice using the chip. This process is known as chipping in and is required before the chip can be fully functional. Chipping in takes 2 full days of practice for every level of the chip. This means, for example, if you've been chipped for martial arts +3, it will take 6 days of practice before the chip has learned enough about your body to be fully functional. If you only get 2 days of practice, the chip will function as a level +1. Practice for 4 days and it's raised to a +2. Memory (MRAM) chips. These are chips for information only, used for storage of raw data on a specific subject. A memory chip operates just like a skill of the same type. It is rated from +1 to +3 and is applied to the same stat as the original skill. For example, AV4 Tech would be combined with your tech stat, while a language chip would relate to your intelligence stat. MRAM chips do not require a previous knowledge of the skill involved and have no chipping in time. Chipware socket, a small socket used only for inserting chipware, see above. With a chipware socket, you can use your interface plugs to control other things, such as weapons or vehicles, while still having access to MRAM and APTR information, holds 10 chips. Chips aren't bad, but they aren't real skills. You'll find that out the first time you go up against a trained professional. You'll go through the routine fine, but she'll be able to improvise when you can't. Morgan Blackhand. Implants. Implants are the useful little things you get plugged in to make living easier. Things that you can't replace from a body bank, or that you may want for a specific job. Note, motion detectors, radiation detectors, and chemical analyzers are 360-degree systems. Radars and sonars are 180-degree systems. Nasal filters. These filters increase saves against poison, sleep drugs, or other breathable toxins by +4. Gill implant. This implant allows the user to breathe relatively clean water. Saves versus poison must be made if the water source is polluted or contains toxic chemicals for up to 4 hours. Independent air supply. A small artificial organ filled with a spongy, oxygen-fixing foam. Implanted in the lower lungs, it allows an inactive character to hold his breath for up to 25 minutes, or an active character up to 10 minutes. Mr. Stud sexual implant. All night, every night, and she'll never know. Use your imagination and add a +1 to your seduction checks. Available also in the Midnight Lady version for the distaff side. Contraceptive implant. Implanted under the left armpit, it prevents pregnancy for up to 5 years. Available for both sexes. Subdermal pocket. A 2" by 4" plastic pocket hidden underneath the skin. With a pressure-sensitive seal. Useful for couriers. Detection requires a difficult awareness check. Adrenaline booster. An artificial gland which releases adrenal hormones on command. Adds +1 to reflexes for up to 1d6 +2 turns, 3 times per day. Subdermal armor. This is a mesh/ballistic plastic armor inserted under the skin. To detect subdermal armor requires a difficult awareness roll. Subdermal armor covers the torso only. Motion detector. Detects motion, direction, and strength in a 20 square meter area with a 70% effectiveness. Can be mounted in the palm or heel. Digital recorder. This unit can record input from internal microphones, from a digital recording link, a digital camera, or all three. The unit is stored in its own subdermal pouch and can record up to 2 hours of information on each chip. Audio/video tape recorder. This unit uses microcassettes to store input from its internal microphone, video cam, or digital recording link. It is stored in its own subdermal pouch for easy access. Each cassette holds 2 hours of information. Radar sensor. 100-meter range radar unit implanted in shoulder with emitter in skull. Implant causes visible bulge in forehead. Sonar implant. 50-meter range sonar unit implanted in the skull. Radiation detector, 10-meter range, 80% detection effectiveness, can be implanted in any body area with a beep alarm mounted on the mastoid bone. Chemical analyzer. This modification to the nasal passages analyzes smells and breaks them down to their chemical components. The results can output to an LCD screen, biomonitor, or Times Square marquee. Voice synthesizer. This system allows the user to mimic any voice or tone previously recorded by its memory chip. The chip can store up to 10 voices. This system also gives the user a +4 to any disguise attempt. Now you really sound like the person you're imitating. AudioVox. This system allows the user to control vocal tones, volume, and tone quality with the precision of a musical synthesizer. Special effects, reverb, tremolo, sustain, and choral voices, loudspeaker volumes, and vocal delay programming for singing with yourself are also possible. This effect adds +2 to any vocal performance skill check. BioWare. BioWare is anything which is primarily low-impact technology that is designed along biological rather than mechanical lines. Most BioWare enhancements involve the use of nanotechnology, tiny machines the size of microbes, which can perform surgical tasks on the cellular level. These nanoids are injected into the area to be affected, along with a supply of the raw materials needed to perform their jobs. For example, long-string polymers, which can be woven by nanoids into a type of subdermal armor called skin weave. Powered by body heat and nutrient chemicals, these tiny machines quietly go about their business, strengthening muscles and altering body chemistry. Grafted muscle. This is vat-grown muscle grafted into your own, with healing. With this modification, you may increase your body type stat up to 2 points, paying 1,000 eddies per point. It can be combined with muscle, bone, lace. Muscle and bone lace, also known as viral transformation. This enhancement involves 2 types of nanoids. The first type threads synthetic muscle through the natural muscle fibers, anchoring and strengthening them. The second type wraps the bone in a light weave of metal and plastic threads, making them stronger and thicker. The result is an increase of +2 to the character's body type stat. This increase is both in strength and the ability to absorb physical damage. This enhancement is virtually indetectable and takes about 2 weeks. Body type increases by 1 each week. Skin weave. This enhancement uses nanoids to weave the top 3 layers of skin with a dense polymer thread. The result is a bare skin SP of 12, equivalent to light body armor. The process is relatively discreet, a difficult awareness check to notice, and takes about 2 weeks. SP increases by 6 each week. Enhanced antibodies. These are tailored antibodies capable of attacking the most powerful viruses in gameplay. They double the rate of healing. Toxic binders. These are nanoids designed to bond with body toxins and poisons. This enhancement adds +4 to all poison saves. Nanosurgeons. These are microscopic machines adapted to surgical repair. Some seal off damaged blood vessels, while others repair damaged tissue, cartilage, and bone with polymer microstitches. This enhancement doubles normal healing time.
So I went into the clinic for treatment. They jammed an IV into my arm and made me drink a whole lot of horrible concoctions. A week went by. I was working on the dock when a pallet broke loose and trapped the foreman. I walked over, grabbed, and lifted the pallet off of him. 1/4 ton! Frack! This nanotech stuff is scary.
Cyber weapons. At the top of the black cyberware hit list are cyber weapons. Hidden killing tools that can be buried in your skin until the moment you want to take someone out. Cyber weapons are normally not available on the open market. The only exception are scratchers and vampires. And locating them usually involves going down into the local combat zone, finding a fixer, and paying a lot of euro to ugly, nasty, violent people who would want to normally consider you spare parts. Boosters, of course, are drawn to cyber weapons like a zoner to zoom dust. Scratchers. Implanted metal or carbo glass fingernails. The incredible sharpness of this material makes these as deadly as razor blades, 1d6 divided by 2 per hand damage. Scratchers cut on the bias, requiring the user to slice crossways, not rip downwards. Most people lacquer their scratchers, making them indistinguishable from normal fingernails. The enamel has no effect on the sharpness. These are not considered lethal, and therefore black market cyberware, and can be purchased in any local clinic. Vampires. Implanted fangs, usually made up of carboglass or superchrome metal. You can have a full set implanted called the Shark Grin Special. It causes 1d6 divided by 2 in bite damage, or canines only, 1d6 divided by 3 damage. These are considered to be decorative, not black market cyberware, and can be purchased in any local clinic. Vampires can be augmented with poison injectors, which are black cyberware, for double the normal price. Rippers. Longer, heavier versions of scratchers, 1d6 plus 3 per hand damage. The top 2 joints of each finger are replaced with a plastic and metal sheath, in which 3-inch carbo glass claws are housed. The rippers can be extended by clawing the hand in a cat-like fashion. Most people wear false fingernails over their rippers, making them much harder to spot, a difficult task. Rippers are considered a form of black market cybertech, and as such, is not accessible through the average on-the-mall clinic. Rippers cut in all directions and are considered edge weapons for AP purposes. Wolvers, the longest and deadliest of the implant blades. Wolvers are implanted along the back of the hand. When the hand is clenched in a fist, the thin triangular blade telescopes and locks into place, remaining extended a full foot until the hand is relaxed. Damage is 3d6 per hand. Treat as edge weapons for AP purposes. Big knucks. Reinforced knuckle bones, giving the fist the impact value of a pair of brass knuckles, 1d6 plus 2. This is considered a form of black market cybertech, and as such is not accessible through the average on-the-mall clinic. Slice and dice, monofilament wire spool mounted in end of one finger, with a weighted false fingernail to give it a balance and swing. Monomolecular wire will cut through almost any organic material and most plastics. Can be used as a garrote, cutter, or slice whip. This is considered a form of black market cybertech, and as such is not accessible through the average on-the-mall clinic. Cybersnake. This is a simpler version of the Cybersnake found in the Hardwired supplement. This version has far less features and is limited to making a rake attack only. The rake has a range of 1 meter and inflicts 1d6 in damage each time it hits. The Cybersnake may be mounted in any body orifice 1 inch or larger, or may be implanted in the shoulders using a special mount. Cyber optics. A combination of digital processor and camera. Cyber optics are replacements for normal eyes. Cyber vision is just like regular vision, only better. Colors are brighter, images are sharper, and that's just the start. Want to see life as a 30s black and white movie? No problem. Telescopic or microscopic vision? Optional. Infrared and low light vision? Standard for solos. Cyber optics can look exactly like normal eyes, although a wide variety of fashion iris colors are available. Amber, white, burgundy, and violet are very popular. Some versions are transparent, with glitter or light swirling inside of them. Others are superchromed for a more cyber look. Others can change eye color at will or to match clothes and surroundings. Some even have tiny designer logos around the irises. Cyber optics with cameras or weapons usually load from the front, with the iris opening up when the front of the eye is depressed. Color shift. These cyber optics can shift color or iris pattern on demand. A full color shift takes about a minute. Mirror, transparent, glitter-filled, or lighted versions are also available. Infrared allows users to see in near total darkness using heat emissions for image reception. Times Square Marquee, scrolling red letter screen in upper edge of vision, linked to either a software chip readout or a radio link. Targeting scope. This projects a targeting sight into the field of vision at will. The targeting scope will read range to specific objects, speed of movement, bearing, and size, as well as providing several types of scope reticle for aligned weapons. When chipped into a smart gun, the scope will match the target sensor of the gun with what you're looking at, then flash a ready signal when the target is acquired. In game terms, this option allows you to add +1 only to smart gun attacks. Anti-dazzle protection. Auto step-down compensates for harsh sunlight, flares, etc., neutralizing effects from strobes, flash bombs, and bright headlights. Never need sunglasses again. Low light allows users to see clearly in dim light conditions, down to very faint moonlight or distant street lamps. Image enhancement. High-res graphics capability allows users to enhance and refine images viewed. When activated, increase awareness skill by +2, allowing users to pick up visual cues in greater detail. Thermograph sensor allows users to see heat patterns of objects, people. Cooler things show up as dark to light blue, hotter things as red or orange, and the hottest of all as yellow or white. Used to distinguish differing heat sources through light structural material, or the presence of cybernetics, which are always cooler than normal body temperatures. Can also determine the operating time of certain machinery by measuring its coolant gradient. Dart gun, one-shot dart gun, range of 1 meter, +2 weapon accuracy. Poison dart will penetrate up to SP6 automatically, SP8 at 50% chance, soft armors only, takes 3 spaces. Micro optics. This is the equivalent of a laboratory microscope, allowing the user to see microscopic images such as fingerprints, scratches on locks, etc. Teleoptics. This is the equivalent of a 20 times power telescope, allowing the user to see distant objects clearly. Ultraviolet. This system allows the user to perceive images irradiated by ultraviolet light, or to detect fluorescent powders or tracing agents, or to use ultraviolet flashlights, indetectable by normal optics for illumination. Micro video. This is a cyber optic mounted video camera, which records its view on an internal videotape for 20 minutes. This recorder can also be downloaded through interface plugs to an external source. Takes up 2 option spaces. Digital camera. This cyber optic mounted camera takes up 2 option spaces. Up to 20 images can be recorded on the built-in digital chip and downloaded through interface cables to an external recorder, internal recorder, or an internal LCD screen. As new pictures are taken, the previous ones are erased. Cyber audio. Cyber audio systems patch into the auditory nerves and speech centers of the brain. This enhancement affects both ears and also includes a sub-vocalizing mic on the mastoid bone. There is no visible change to the outer ear, although some cyberpunks replace the outer ear with a set of mechanical speaker pickups for max effect. Radio link. A micro-miniature radio transceiver, usually mounted at the base of the skull and using your fillings as the antenna. It is activated by clicking the teeth together sharply. To talk, you merely sub-vocalize, mutter under your breath. Reception is carried out in one of 2 ways. 1. A receiver directly vibrates the mastoid bone, giving you a small, tiny voice in the back of your head. Or 2, linked to a cyber optics marquee option. Incoming messages are flashed into the upper edge of your field of vision as red scrolling letters. In game terms, having a radio implant gives you the ability to talk to any receiver on the same band frequency for up to 1 mile. It also means you occasionally get someone else's radio messages. Phone splice, an improved radio splice. This implant is wired to communicate directly to your personal cellular phone. In practice, it allows you to do everything the radio splice does, but you must have your phone within 3 meters of you, and it must already be turned on and the number dialed. Audio splice is commonly used by busy corporates who want to be able to answer calls, even in a meeting. One of the biggest advantages of audio splice is its range. Anywhere your phone will go, you can go, even the moon. ECM Scrambler. This implant improves your radio or audio splice with a scrambler, so it cannot be listened into. In game terms, this makes all radio or audio splice communications private, unless the interceptor has a descrambler unit and a lot of time on his hands. I can see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. The Who. Hear me, see me, touch me, kill me. Sarah O'Connor, Tribute to Tommy, 2019. Bug Detector. This mini receiver is designed to pick up signals transmitted by all types of radio bugs. When the bug is active, its transmissions make a small beeping noise in the back of your head, getting louder as you get closer to the bug. In game terms, this gives you a 6 out of 10 chance, roll a 1d10, choose your 6 numbers, of detecting any bugs within 10 feet of you, a normal option for corporates, fixers, and solos. It's one thing to smell the fear on your opponent's skin, but it's another to get a 4-color digital readout of his terror, a full spectrum recording of his lies and evasions as he desperately tries to save his life. Morgan Blackhand. In the future, there's no place to hide from yourself. Lyle McKellen, Network 54. Wearman. A variant of the radio splice, the Wearman mounts twin vibration speakers on your mastoid bones, making your skull into an audio system of concert quality. A tiny chip mount wired into the earlobe allows you to plug in a variety of music chips, all fashioned to look like earrings, or you can plug in direct to your interface plugs. Each chip contains about 100 songs. Selections are fast-forwarded by squeezing the earring gently, once per selection. When the chip is removed, the Wearman turns off, a teeny bop fave. Amplified hearing. This system improves hearing and sound recognition ability, adding +1 to any sound-related awareness check. Voice Stress Analyzer. This system acts as a lie detector, detecting minute changes in vocal patterns and tones and comparing these to a pre-recorded set of parameters. You must first use the analyzer on the subject while he/she is in an unstressed situation or is telling the truth. All subsequent tests will give you a +2 to human perception or interrogation skills on that particular subject. Sound editing. This system allows the user to edit out distracting noises or zero in on a particular sound. Activation of this system adds +2 to any sound-related awareness check. Sound editing can be used in conjunction with amplified hearing or enhanced hearing. Enhanced hearing range. This subsystem allows the user to hear tones in the subsonic and supersonic ranges. Radar detector. This system produces a loud beep whenever a radar beam is encountered. It also has a 40% chance of triangulating the source. When the direction of the beam is determined, the beep changes to a clear tone. Homing tracer. This option allows the character to follow a homing tone broadcast from an external sender. Range is 1 kilometer. The tone increases in volume as the user gets closer to his target. The homing tracer comes with 2 senders, about the size and shape of a pin. Extra senders cost 25 eddies each. Type Beam Radio Link. This option allows type beam radio communication for up to 1 mile, as long as both parties are within line of sight of each other and not blocked by any object thicker than 1 foot. Wideband Radio Scanner. This option automatically scans all major police, fire, ambulance, and trauma team communication bands. The user can set this scanner to cover one specific band, downloading any incoming messages to his own internal radio link or Times Square marquee. Micro Recorder Link downloads anything heard by the user to either an internal or external via interface plug sound recorder. Digital Recording Link. This option allows anything heard by the user to be recorded on an internal microchip for 2 hours. Recordings can be downloaded to an internal recorder or via interface plugs to an external recorder. Level Dampener. This system automatically compensates for loud noises, such as stun bomb attacks or sonic weapons. Characters with this option can ignore all effects of these weapons. Cyber limbs. When the man on the street thinks of cyborgs, what he thinks are artificial limbs, whirring, glittering metal constructs of steel, wire, and microchip circuitry. Although real arms, legs, and organs can easily be grown in biotanks or replaced from body banks at a much lower cost, artificial limbs are still a popular fad of the cyberpunk future. They are chromed, airbrushed, jeweled, lighted, and even sculpted in the pursuit of true cybertech chic. Under all the designer fashion, the standard cyberlimb is an aluminum and steel basket framework with artificial myomer plastic muscles controlling motion. The joints are stainless steel. The cyberlimb plugs into a special nerve interface jack mounted in the flesh above the limb, while the main unit is coupled to a metal and plastic cuff around the meat part of the limb. The cuff is usually placed at the upper bicep, thigh, or the elbow, knee. However, arms may also be attached to an artificial shoulder. See below, and anchored to an external arm mount. Cyberlimb myths and abilities. The popular myth about cyberlimbs is that they enable their owners to perform all kinds of superheroic feats. To a point, it's true. Cyberlimbs can be designed with boosted strength and speed, using synthetic muscle fibers and silicon chips. What you won't find are people running at 200 miles an hour, bending steel bars with their hands, or throwing Volkswagens around. Why can't you go around lifting cars and punching down walls like the cyborgs in the comics? Simple physiology. The replacement limb must be able to work in concert with the remaining meat parts of the body. Even if your arm was 10 times stronger than before, the back and shoulder muscles supporting that cyber limb wouldn't be, and they'd shred long before the artificial muscles did. But within limits, a cyber-equipped person can do some pretty impressive party tricks. Crushing. A cybernetic arm uses synthetic muscle fibers instead of flesh and blood. They don't get tired and they don't feel pain. They are also much stronger than normal muscle tissue. This gives a cyber arm tremendous gripping power. All cyber limbs can easily crush light metals, woods, and plastics. They can crush glass and plastic to dust, although they can't crush lumps of coal into diamonds. In combat, any crushing grip with a cyber arm will do 2d6 damage. Pain. Cyber arms never grow tired, allowing the wearer to hang from high places indefinitely. You can turn off the touch sensors with a flick of a mental switch, eliminating pain and allowing you to perform feats such as reaching into raging fires, dabbling in tanks of liquid nitrogen, and picking up red-hot pokers. A gunshot wound to a cyber limb has no pain effects. You don't have to make a saving roll against shock and stun. Damage. Cyber limbs can take and dish out a tremendous amount of damage, so much that they are treated like machinery for the purposes of game combat. All cyber limbs can take up to 20 points of structural damage before they are useless, and up to 30 total points of structural damage before they are destroyed. A cyber arm punch does 1d6 damage to its target. Wall, car, someone's head, no matter. A cyber leg kick will do 2d6 damage. Leaping. Cyber legs employ powerful pistons and microservers, backed by bundles of synthetic muscles. With a pair of them, you can leap tremendous distances. Characters with paired cyber legs can leap 6 meters straight up, or make a running jump of up to 8 meters. Options. These are things which can be done to a basic cyber limb to improve its strength, damage capacity, or flexibility. In addition to these improvements, artificial shoulders can be mounted at waist level to provide extra arms. A cyber limb can hold up to 4 options or built-ins. A hand or foot is considered to be one option. Cyber limbs automatically come with basic foot modules. Quick change mounts. These allow the user to change cyber limbs without using tools. The limb is bayonet mounted and can be removed by depressing a thumb catch and twisting to the left. Quick change mounts may also be used at the wrist or ankle joints to allow a variety of hands or feet to be used. To calculate the HL or humanity loss, average the HC or humanity cost of all the options you're using with the mount, then double it. Hydraulic rams. Common to Soviet cyberware, rams are bulkier and heavier than myomer fibers. The limb will not pass inspection as real, no matter how well covered by real skin, but can take more damage, 30 SDP to disable, 40 to destroy. Limb strength is also increased, 3 times crush, punch, kicking damage. Thickened myomer strands. These give limbs greater strength, 2 times normal damages, and durability, plus 5 SDP. Leaps are increased by 50%. Reinforced joints. These are made of titanium steel instead of stainless, and add plus 5 SDP to the cyber limb. Artificial shoulders. These are swivel joints which can be mounted to a back-mounted frame. This allows up to 2 extra arms to be mounted at waist level. The unit has an SDP of 25. Microwave and EMP shielding protects your cyber limb from electromagnetic pulse and microwave attacks. Shielding may be placed on any type of limb no matter what covering is used. It is placed internally, using up 1 space in the limb. Coverings. While all cyber limbs come in a stripped or uncovered state, they can be covered in a variety of ways. The cheapest method is plastic covering, available in a variety of colors, with airbrushing or transparent with embedded lights and holography. A plastic covering may also be chrome, a popular option, or covered with a metallic skin tinted in golds, blues, greens, reds, or silvers. The most expensive option is real skin, a flexible plastic that looks very much like skin, with follicles, hairs, small scars, and imperfections. It has a 75% chance of passing as a meat limb to all but the closest inspection. In lieu of a covering, the cyber limb can be armored with Kevlar and ballistic plastic. This armor covering protects the limb with an SP of 20, however, you may not cover or chrome an armored limb. So I kicked off the roof and jumped the gap between the rooftops. Whammo, my right cyber leg punched through the cheap Cree as I hit the other side. Reached out and grabbed a big pipe to keep from falling, and my cyber hand crushed it into a metal pretzel. Just wasn't my night. Ripperjack. 2 optional hands, including a tool model, cyber modem up the bicep with a pop-up 9mm. Jeez, guy's left arm looks like a frackin' Swiss Army knife. Shut up and help me loot the body, Ripperjack. Hands and feet. The basic cyber limb comes without hands or feet attached. These are purchased separately, allowing the user to tailor the limb to his or her specific needs. These parts can be changed by unfastening a series of connection bolts and reconnecting the new hand or foot, taking about 4 turns. No, you can't put hands on legs and vice versa. Get a life. Standard hand. This reassembles a normal hand, 4 fingers and a thumb. The hand is covered, superchromed, or armored as part of the arm. Ripper hand. This is a normal hand with ripper blades mounted in the upper hand and wrist area. Hammer hand. This hand is made of hardened titanium and has a powerful explosive shell-driven ram that acts like a jackhammer. You punch, the shell goes off, driving the fist forward with incredible velocity and power, 1d10 damage. A port in the top ejects the shell and opens to receive a new one. Replacements cost 3 eddies. Buzz hand. This hand can be pulled back to reveal small, spinning monowires around a titanium hub. The high-speed weed whacker shears through the materials like butter. Damage is 2d6 plus 2. Soft armors reduce 2 points per hit. Tool hand. This hand's 4 fingers conceal micro tools. 1. A screwdriver with changeable hands. 2. Adjustable wrench. 3. Battery-powdered soldering iron. 4. Adjustable socket wrench. The lower edge of the palm is hardened to make a dandy hammer. Grapple hand. This hand's fingers extend backwards to create a 5-fingered throwing grapple. A small spool on the wrist contains 30 meters of fine, super strong line capable of supporting 200 pounds. Extension hand. This hand can extend from a telescoping wrist mount up to 1 meter, can support up to 200 pounds. Spike hand. This hand contains a hardened titanium spike which telescopes out of the wrist and through the lower palm, can be poisoned, and is useful for climbing. Damage is 1d6 plus 3 AP. Modular hand. This unit contains 1. A drug injector. 2. 1 meter garrote, line extending out of the fingertip. 3. 1-inch monomolecular blade for cutting. 4. Pick lock. In addition, there is a 2-inch by 2-inch palm storage space. Talon foot. This foot can extend narrow blades similar to scratchers for 1d6 damage. Treat as edge weapons for AP damage. Tool foot. The toes of the foot contain 1. A screwdriver with changeable heads. 2. Adjustable wrench. 3. Battery-powered soldering iron. 4. Adjustable socket wrench. 5. Wire saw blade. Web foot. Extends thin webs from either side of foot as well as webs between toes. Doubles normal swimming speed, plus add plus 3 to swimming skills. Grip foot. Toes of this foot can extend and curl around a 2-inch bar. The soles are covered in a tacky rubberized material for increased traction. Adds plus 2 to climbing skills. Spike heel. A 6-inch spike projects from the heel of this foot, allowing the user to make a deadly rear kick. Damage is 2d6 AP. Can be used for anchoring or climbing. Built-ins. These are options which are constructed within the cyber limb for specific tasks. Like most cyber weapons, they are designed for maximum concealability and have a 60% chance of passing a casual inspection if covered with real skin, or a suitably realistic covering. Cyber modem. This option allows the user to carry a small and very expensive cyber modem with him at all times. The modem must be jacked into a data term, computer, or other telecommunications line in order to be used. Power for up to 3 hours is provided by rechargeable battery, recharges in 1 hour, or through an external power cord. Program chips are changed through an access port in the limb. The cyber modem is directly jacked into the nervous system through its own internal cables and does not require external interface plugs. Cellular cyber modem. This very, very expensive version of a cyber modem allows the netrunner to interface directly with the net without a direct telecommunications link. A cell SIB can only be used in a major city, population of greater than 100,000, where a cell net is present. If used while in a moving vehicle, there is a 25% chance each turn that the connection will be broken and need to be reestablished in the next turn. Digital recorder. This unit can record input from internal microphones, digital recording links, digital cameras, or all 3. Audio-video tape recorder. This unit uses microcassettes to store input from its internal microphone, video cam, or digital recording link. Storage space. This is a 2 by 2 by 6-inch storage space with a locking cover. Minicam. This is a small digital camera which pops up from a mount in the upper arm. Internal chip stores 20 images and can be easily changed. Minivid. A pop-up video camera with mini cassettes that can store up to 4 hours of recorded images. Hidden holster, leg only, a hidden storage space for holding 1 auto pistol and 1 clip of extra ammo. The size of the leg, based on the body type, limits the size of the weapon which may be stored. Very weak to weak is a light pistol. Average to strong, medium pistol. very strong heavy pistol, very strong folding shotgun, 2 shots, half range. LCD screen readout. This 2-inch by 4-inch TV screen can display color graphic images. It is normally covered with a transparent screen guard. Images can be taken from digital recorders, mini-vids, and mini-cams, and cyber optics. A cable can be extended from an aux port and plugged into any standard interface plug to transfer images from someone else's cyber optics or recorders. Tech scanner. This device can be hooked up to diagnostic systems of most vehicles, appliances, and personal electronics to determine possible problems and troubleshoot breakdowns. Reliability is 60%. On a successful roll, the difficulty of a repair task is reduced by -3. You know it's wrong, you just have to fix it. Cyber weapons. One advantage of cyber limbs is the ability to mount weapons within their framework. Most cyber weapons of this sort are designed for stealth and concealability, rather than raw firepower, and have a 60% chance of escaping detection when hidden under real skin, or other suitable coverings. Weapons include pop-up gun. This is a standard automatic handgun concealed in a cyberarm. The action is mounted inside a pop-up housing, which is covered when not in use. For this reason, you must always remember to uncover your arm when using a pop-up. Clips are inserted in the side of the action. Pop-up guns are designed to use caseless ammunition only. The size of the cyberarm, based on body type, limits the size of weapons, which may be mounted similar to hidden holsters. Note, you may elect to mount any pistol of the correct size listed in the outfitting section. A light SMG equals a medium pistol, and a medium SMG equals a heavy pistol for this purpose. Flamethrower. This is a small, high-pressured flame jet with a range of 1 meter and 4 shots. Damage is 2d6 the first round, 1d6 divided by 2 for 2 rounds afterwards. Soft armor is reduced 2 levels per attack. Micro missile launcher. This launcher contains 4 miniature missiles, explosive tip gyro rounds with heat-seeking guidance and steering vents. Like the pop-up gun, the micro missile launcher is stored in the limb and pops out when needed. Launching 2 missiles per turn. The missiles are self-guided plus 2 weapons accuracy and can follow a target through one direction change of 90 degrees or less, giving them the ability to track around a corner, 3 in 10 chance of losing target. Reloads cost 50 eddies each. Damage is 46 per missile. Range 200 meters. Grenade launcher. This launcher is a modified support grenade launcher stored in a pop-up mount. 1 grenade, you may use any standard type, is stored in the launcher. A reload may be dropped in after the first one is used. Note, a standard storage space can hold 2 grenade. Weapon mount and link. This is a heavy-duty hardpoint mounted either on the underside of a cyberarm, the outside thigh of a cyberlimb, or the top of a shoulder. You may attach externally mounted versions of standard weapons to this mount, jacking their control cables into the side of the hardpoint. You may not wear armor or clothing on the limb while the mount is in use. Available weapons include grenade launcher, micro missile launcher, externally mounted auto pistol based on body type. 2-shot capacity laser. This micro laser is designed to produce a very powerful pulse of limited duration, 3d6 for each second shot. Range is atrocious, 10 meters, and recharging requires plugging into a socket for 1 hour. However, it can be a particularly effective weapon for assassination or silent attacks. Weapon accuracy is a +3. Linear frames. Linear frames are the 2020 version of the exoskeleton. An exoskeleton is basically a metal framework with synthetic muscles for movement. You sit in the exoskeleton and steer while it does the work. Early exoskeletons were rarely used for anything important. Clumsy and hard to control, hapless operators often tossed half-ton cargo modules through walls and ripped loading doors off hinges. It was not until the advancement biofeedback systems of the 2000s that the more practical linear frame could be developed. A linear frame resembles a suit of contoured metal body armor. The frame is grafted onto your body while its systems are directly neurolinked to your muscles and bones. Linear frames are designed to take over a percentage of the load while leaving you enough work to allow you to gauge how much you're lifting and maintaining control of the weight. For example, if you exert enough force to lift 10 pounds, the linear frame provides no more power than would be required to move its own bulk. If you lift 100 pounds, the linear frame splits the difference, lifting 20% of the mass so that you lift 80 pounds. If you lift 500 pounds, the linear frame takes 80% for 100 pounds, leaving you to lift 100 pounds. At the top end of the scale, almost 1,800 pounds for linear omega, the frame lifts 90% of the weight while you only lift about 180 pounds. But hey, you didn't come here for a physics lesson, right? You want to know how much you can pick up and throw around. Linear frames come in 3 strengths. When using the linear frame, you will use its strength value instead of your normal body type value for any lifting, bending, carrying, or braking task. Remember, for all their advanced construction, implanted linear frames are still quite heavy, 50 to 100 kilograms, and bulky. You can't swim in them, and they have a -1 penalty to your reflex. But if you want to toss a car out of the way, they're just the ticket. All linear frames lift 50 times their strength value. Example, Sigma can deadlift 600 kilograms. Linear Sigma, 12 strength, plus 4 modifier for damage. Linear Beta, 14 strength, plus 6 damage modifier. Linear Omega, 16 strength, plus 8 damage modifier. Body plating. Body plating covers any situation where armored plastics and metals are layered over and directly anchored to the skin. The armor is microscopically porous, allowing the skin underneath to breathe, and made by sandwiching an ablative plastic shell with energy-absorbing microcellular honeycomb. Body plating doesn't make you any stronger or faster, but it's perfect for the cyborg who wants all-over protection all the time, and doesn't care who knows it. It is the ultimate expression of the metal is better than meat philosophy. The body-plated look more like robots than they do humans, and are impervious to most of the physical damage that besets us mere mortals. Body plating also includes specialized mounts for sensors as well as body armor. Body plating is sold in parts, each covering a specific area. It may be placed directly on the skin or layered over a linear frame exoskeleton for the ultimate in cyborg chic. Cowl. This is a body plate that covers the skull. It is anchored by mini bolts to the scalp and resembles the old skull caps from bad science fiction or fantasy epics. SP of 25. Faceplate. The standard faceplate covers the entire face, with ports for breathing, eating, and seeing. The armored plastic material is woven with fine myomer muscle fibers and is relatively flexible. Facial nerve links allow limited and somewhat stiff changes of expression. This modification doesn't have to be ugly. Many people find the silvery contours and smooth features quite attractive, somewhat like the sexy robot airbrushings of the late 20th century. However, many cyborgs like to have their faceplates sculpted into bizarre and often frightening images, monsters out of mythology, or terrifying robotic shapes. It's up to you. SP of 25. Torso plate. This section covers the entire upper and lower torso, back and front, with expansion joints at the sides, groin, and waist to allow free movement. SP of 25. Reduce your reflex by -3. Front optic mount. This mount allows up to 5 cyber optics to be installed in a shielded cluster in the upper face. The eyes are removed and the orbital sockets used to mount the receiver hardware for the optic mount. Optic mounts come in several styles. There are thin visor slits, a la RoboCop, rotating camera clusters like an old-fashioned movie camera, or one main optic with smaller ones arranged in a circle around it. Needless to say, this really screws up your attractiveness stat, automatically reducing it to -1. Sensory extensions. These are flattened antennae and optic mounts, about a foot or 2 feet long. A single cyber optic and a microphone are mounted in the tip, allowing you to observe things around corners without sticking your whole body into the line of fire. Sensory booms are usually mounted on the head or on the upper spine. Running out of cash? Just about this time, you're starting to look over the list of cyber enhancements, and you're thinking, I don't have the kind of Eurobucks I need to swing this new tech. At this point, you have to ask yourself, how desperate am I? Am I really hard up enough to risk death and dismemberment just to get a lousy cyber arm? Sure you are. The truly desperate turn to desperate measures. In this case, you can hire yourself out to someone who can afford to buy your cybernetics for you. Selecting one of the following employers is worth €10,000 in cybernetics free of charge. Join the covert military. Become a fighter in the cyber wars, serving your country's armed forces with distinction and honor as part of the secret elite mechanized combat forces. Cyber grunts to you. See pain, torture, and death up close as you participate in any one of 100 covert police actions worldwide protecting national interests. Of course, the cyber grunts don't exist. Of course, your country doesn't send teams of heavily armed covert agents into other countries to kill and foment revolt. Of course, they're not going to let you quit when you want to. Take up life of organized crime. The word on the street is that the mob is alive and hiring. Swear allegiance to one of the big-time organized crime families, and you'll never lack for cybertech. The only catch is, you have to do work for them. Bill collecting, assassinations, murders, mob wars. The families of the 2020 have a long and honorable tradition that goes back into the early 20th century. Nobody ever quits the mob. Ever. By the second tour, I didn't mind too much. We were making good time against the Sandys, and the new cyber arm paid its way in the first 2 firefights. Then the recon AV went down over some little pest hole in the Nicaraguan jungle. And I woke up again. I was legless from the hip. They gave me a choice, disability with a wheelchair, or 2 legs and another tour. You can see how I went. Ripperjack. We own you, Banner. Body and soul. We don't care how much metal you have, or how many friends you can call on. When we want you, you better come running. And you better pray that we don't have to come looking for you first. Because you're company property, and we can do anything we want with you. Boardroom Conversation 2020 AD. Sell out to a corporation. Join a corporation and see the world. While you're at it, they'll bankroll you for $10,000 in new tech. But remember, with all business deals, there's a price. In this case, you have to work for the corporation. The jobs you get to do are all fun, suicidal ones, which they don't want to waste their good people on. Executive kidnappings, black operations, and espionage missions. If you're really lucky, you'll even get to be a grunt in a corporate war. You know, the ones that make Vietnam and Afghanistan look like picnics, where you get to defend the corporation's interests in some backwater hellhole with a population of natives you're suppressing. Big business is fun. The catch. Like most free offers, these employment opportunities are booby-trapped in creative and dangerous ways. Each requires that you work for an intermediate amount of time, forever, for people you may not like. You'll have to do what they tell you, no matter how cruddy or dangerous or suicidal. Like most powerful people in Cyberpunk future, they don't like to be crossed, and have a variety of awful ways to ensure your cooperation. Hostages. To ensure your good behavior, the controlling agency is holding someone you care about hostage. You mess up, they die, or worse. Blackmail. Somewhere in your past you did something you can't afford to let out. It could be as small as cheating on your taxes with a 20-year jail term, or a murder rap. It may even be fictional, created by your new employers to make sure you toe the line. Are you willing to take the chance? Sabotage chipware. To make sure you stay in line, the controlling agency has buried lethal glitches in your cybernetic software, things to make your heart stop on command. Programs that give you blinding headaches if you refuse to follow an order. Monitored. Your employers have implanted sensors or other monitoring devices on you just to ensure your loyalty. You can't say or do anything without them knowing. You can't go anywhere without them finding you. The worst part is, you don't know where in your body they've hidden these devices. Command kill. A really vicious sabotage chip. On the command word, you will kill whomever you are directed to kill. Without control, regret, or mercy. Your mother, your lover, your cat, anyone. Company safeguard. Another nasty sabotage chip. You can't willingly harm any member of the controlling agency. To do so will cause your excruciating pain. To continue will cause even more pain, culminating in full heart stoppage and a screaming death. Remote detonator. One of the favorite corporate tricks. This is a small package of inert explosive buried deep somewhere in your body, activated by a remote radio signal. You don't know where they put it, the scanners can't find it, and if you did go around looking, you're likely to set it off at 60%. Wanna bet your life, Cobber? Sounds fun? Remember, if you join one of these groups, any one or more of these little goodies applies directly to making you a puppet of your employers. What you are forced to do and what they hold over you is up to the referee. He doesn't even have to tell you. You don't have a choice. You just sold your soul. Welcome to 2020, smart boy. It's a clean, cold feeling. Just me and the chill, the victim, the heat, and the edge-induced thrill. The afterglow of life, the prey paying the bill. Loving the street, making the kill, solo. Toby the Hammer solo, Big Russian Music, 2019. Frag that, these guys kill people for a living. The only place where a gunfight is romantic is in a James Bond novel. Morgan Blackhand. Okay, that was section 6, putting the cyber into the punk. I gotta say, it was really interesting reading about the cyber psychosis rules. That's a cool way to prevent people from just putting all the cybernetics into themselves as possible without any sort of repercussions, because of course in a setting like this, what would stop you from just becoming a full-on robot, Hermes style? The number one complaint I have for this section, if you can even call it that, is just analysis paralysis. There are so many different options that I am just stunned looking at all of it. There is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of condensed material that give you every single option you could possibly have. Not to mention, you have to factor in how long the surgery is going to take, if you can get it legally or illegally, how bad the surgery is going to be, your humanity loss, and so many other aspects that of course would make sense in this context, but I would just never think about. I do kind of like the make the deal with the devil option for the last part. I wish they would have put that up front before you looked at all the cyber stuff. I guess it makes sense. You're looking through all these fun toys that you can play with and realizing that there's no way you can afford them before the game starts. So it's a really good way to have people who want to like min-max or try to make the best and most powerful character possible be under a tight leash. Like have a reason why they can't go all out and try to like do whatever they want all the time. Because in order to get all these fun toys, they had to put themselves into a self-inflicted servitude. Also, too, the way that cybernetics are presented to you in this book, you could possibly make your own. It seems like it's up for, like, homebrewing and just changing things. I wish they would have provided a small guide. They made a guide for making new skills. They should have had a guide for making custom cybernetics. This would have been a perfect, like, pull for anyone who wants to play this game. One thing that threw me for the loop was the rules for the chipware. I found it really interesting that most chips that you can find only give you a specific skill increase from 1 to 3, but not only that, it overrides whatever skill you had before that, so you can't stack skills and chipware at the same time. That's a really interesting, like, limitation. So if you're completely unskilled in a skill you have no interest in using improvement points on, you can just slot that chip and you'll always have that bonus while it's slotted. And at first, I thought it didn't make sense how you can't improve while having a chip implanted, but then they explained that the chip itself has been pre-programmed and needs to adjust to you, and therefore you can't do any more improvements because you're mostly relying on the chip doing all the heavy lifting for you. So I thought that that was pretty well thought out. All these cybernetics that we've seen from the contemporary cyberpunk media, like in 2077 and Edge Runners, I thought they would have just changed gameplay completely. Like, I was kind of disappointed to see that the Sandevistan only gives you a +3 to initiative rolls instead of like an extra turn per combat. Or I thought it was sort of disappointing that having a smart gun link only gives you a +2 to firearms attack made with a smart gun, rather than, I don't know, reducing the difficulty value that it would take to shoot the gun at longer distances. Or maybe even the ability to shoot around cover. It's going to be a long time before I'm able to retain most of the cybernetics afforded to the player and to NPCs to learn them by heart. There is a lot to work with here, and half of these might not have any practical applications at all. But as Cyberpunk's motto says, it's style over substance. You do things and describe them because they look cool, not because they give you a bonus to a stat or whatever. If I had one desire for improvement or a criticism, it would be to give the player a body layout of where the cybernetics are and what cybernetic slots are available. Kind of like the 2077 game when you're putting in cybernetics. I feel that that would make a visual indicator of what cybernetics that you have implanted much more satisfying and responsive, rather than having a small list of all the cybernetics that you have in your body just by words. I may design a custom cyberpunk paper doll a la Battletech as to where you can slot certain limbs at and where they are just at a glance. I think that would be pretty cool. But that's all I have for now, so until next time.